One thing we can look at when we're analyzing a data set is what's known as a measure of center, also known as a measure of middle. And there's three primary measures of center that we can calculate and then analyze, and they're known as the mean, median, and mode. So what we're going to do in this video is just introduce what each of these are and how we go about calculating them. So let's start with the mean. So the mean is also known as the average. So if you hear average, they're referring to mean, they are one of the same. And basically you find the mean or the average of a data set by adding all the individual numbers of the data set together and then dividing by however many numbers, how many data values you actually had. So you can see that in this formula here, that the mean is equal to all the data values added together, so the sum of them all, and then divided by however many total of those data values there actually were. So let's just quickly work through an example here. So if we wanted to calculate the mean of this set of data here, this could be any kind of data, but we've just got some data here. What we would need to do to calculate that, so mean equals, is add them all together. So this would be 2 plus 3 plus 3 plus another 3 plus 5 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8, and then divide by however many there are in total. Oops, that needs to be a plus between the 7 and the 8. So there are 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 9 different data sets in total here. And essentially we just now add them all together. And it's really important here that they have to be added together first. So you can't just, whack this into the calculator, which is a common mistake I see, and then just go 2 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 5 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 divided by 9, because what the calculator will do is do BEDMAS first. It will do 8 divided by 9, then add that all together. So it's really important that you make sure the addition is done first. So let's go ahead and do this. So 2 plus 3 plus 3 plus. And what we'll end up with is 42 divided by 9. So therefore that gives us a mean or an average. That's going to be approximately equal to 4.67. So that there is how we calculate the mean of a data set, or the average of a data set. So let's move on to what median is then. So median is known as the middle value of an ordered data set. Now it's really, really important here, that word ordered. What ordered means is it has to be ordered from lowest to biggest. Okay, you can't just have them in any kind of random order, but you've got to order them from smallest to biggest. Now, assuming that you've got that, to find the middlemost number is what the median is. Whichever number is in the most middle of the data is going to be the median. Now, there is a quick way to work out what the middlemost number is, which is really, really useful if you've got like thousands of data points. And that's this little formula here where you look at how many data values do you have in total. So this one we had 9 by memory. Yep, so it was 9 data values. You add 1 to that, which will give us 10. All right, then divide by 2, so that's 5, and we're looking for the 5th data value. So the 5th data value here will be our true middle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our middle value in this data here is this number just here. It's the 5th data set, so our median is equal to 5. So that's the quick way that we can go about it if we've got like hundreds of data points, all right, rather than having to count them all out. The other way that you can go about doing it though, which will still find you that middle, is to do something like a cross out method. So cross from the start, cross from the finish, cross from the start, cross from the finish, cross from the start, from the finish, from the start, from the finish, and see where you arrive into the true middle. So that's another method. Obviously, it's not really necessarily a mathematical method, but it certainly will get you the true middle of the data. Now, I do have a second example here because obviously something special occurs if you've got an even number of data points. So here we had 9 data points. Here, we've actually got 10 data points. So we've got to look at, well, what changes when we've got 10? I think there's 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep. So if we do our little shortcut method just in here, 10 plus 1 will be 11. 11 divided by 2 is 5.5. So we're looking for the fifth and a half data point. And the reason for that is the true middle is actually between the fifth and the sixth data point. It's right there. It actually doesn't exist on the fifth or the sixth. It's right between the two. So whenever you get something like that, what we need to actually do here is grab the two numbers either side of it, and we look for the average of that. The average of that will give us what the median actually is. Now, if you think about average, that's mean. We've got to add those numbers together and divide by how many of them there were. So we add them together and divide by 2. So the median here is going to be equal to 5 plus 6 divided by 2, which is going to be 11 over 2, which is 5.5. So that's what our median is. So that's what you need to do if you have an even number of data values. You get the two numbers that are either side of where the true middle is, add them together and divide by 2, and you'll find the median of it. So finally, let's look at mode. Now, what mode is the number that most frequently occurs in the data set. Okay, so that's something else that we might be interested in. Okay, so basically when we look at our data set, we're going, hey, what figure here, like what number occurs more often than any other number? So if we look at this number just in here, it's clearly 3. 3 occurs 3 times, the next most is 5, which is twice, and then the rest are only occurring once. So when we're looking at the mode here, the mode is equal to 3. All right. Now, if you're ever trying to remember these, I always think as mode most, all right, to remember that's how we remember what mode actually is. So the reason why, once again, I've got 2 data sets here is there's also situations where you don't have just one number occurring the most, all right? So in this example here, we can see that 2 occurs twice and 6 occurs twice. Everything else only occurs once. So it is possible to have more than one mode in your data. So in this case, the mode is equal to 2 or it should be more and. So 2 and 6. All right. Now you can have 3 modes, 4 modes, depending on what your data actually is, but you're just looking at what number actually occurs the most in the data. So I guess to summarize, there's 3 different types of middles, primary middles that we can calculate. Each have their uses. We'll go into their uses in another time. But the first one is the mean. So if we quickly skip back to that, which is also known as the average. To find the average, you need to add all your data sets together, then divide by how many there were. The median is the middlemost number, but something that's really, really important. If you don't have an ordered data set, you must order the data set first. An ordered data set is putting the numbers from smallest to biggest. Okay, once you've done that, then you're just looking for the middlemost number. You just got to be careful with that. If you've got the middlemost numbers in between 2 numbers, then you need to average those 2 numbers. So that's adding them together and dividing by 2. All right, and then the final measure of center is the mode, which is looking at which data value occurred more often than any other data.